and then we'll do a quick audio test to make sure that people can actually hear us.
Cool.
And then after that, we'll get rolling.
Cool.
Alrighty, can you say just anything for me?
Good afternoon, YouTube streamers.
Alrighty, can you say
Good
just
evening,
anything
actually.
for me? Good afternoon. All right, we're perfect. Welcome once again to the Average Intelligence Podcast. You may notice I don't have a big black microphone in my face because my stupid ass left it at our normal podcast spot. And apologies, Eric will not be able to make the stream tonight because my stupid ass also didn't understand that when he said I have strep means I won't be on the podcast because I can't talk. But nevertheless, we are here. I mean, I was going to make a we're here, we're queer joke, but I was like, nah, I can't turn that.
Well, maybe a little bit.
No,
maybe
I can't. I can't turn that. I mean, it's 2023, so it's just like we're here. But we are joined. We are joined by the one and only. I think I have some schmutz on my camera. Nope, it's just a shitty camera. I made it worse. We're here. We're joined by our friend from the Great White North, Toast, and I just realized you can't see the shirt, so I will.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. I feel more than welcome. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say, I'm a huge fan of the podcast, and I know you guys are brand new, and I love that I'm able to be a part of it, in the very beginning, and it certainly is an honor to be on. So thank you guys so much. Well, thank you, Jake.
You hear that? You hear that? He's happy to be on.
I'm very happy to be on.
Words I never thought I would hear.
Well, I mean, you guys cover so many different kinds of content, which I thoroughly enjoy. Also, it's really nice to speak to another conservative in the place where it's literally all happening. Everything that happens over there kind of trickles down over here. So certainly, there's going to be a lot of interesting things to discuss. And this is fantastic. I'm very happy.
I will mildly correct you on one thing. I know Eric, I think, would identify himself as a conservative, but even he is kind of like, don't lump me in with these guys. I definitely don't consider myself a conservative, and actually, because I know we're going to talk about healthcare, and I'm going to surprise/piss off some people when we get there. But my specialty is I'm kind of like I'm almost a committed fence rider, meaning that like some people ride the fence just because they don't want to make waves. I'm usually I'm kind of like how Matt and Trey Parker don't like extremes on either side. It's like, okay, I'm looking at the right, and it's like a lot of what you're saying is making sense, but you guys are fucking nuts. And then I look left, and I'm like, okay, some of what you're saying makes sense. Until recently, it's like I like the whole free speech thing. I like the civil liberties thing, but some of you fuckers are nuts.
It's interesting you say that, because here it's like if you say anything contrary to the mainstream conversation, you're considered a conservative, right? I would say that I'm a little bit more moderate, but I definitely am conservative, but I'm also not a dickhead. There's a lot of conservatives that are very much, hard pressed into their views, and they get emotionally upset when you contradict it. I'm a man of knowledge. You present me with better facts, and if it makes sense and if I can apply it to my own life, then I'm okay with it. I like logic and knowledge. So I'm not sure where that lumps me in.
Well, I think I have this sort of, it's not my hypothesis, but this is the way I phrase it. I think the bulk of the people in the U.S., and I would wager say Canada's the same way to a certain extent, is I'd say 80% of people pretty much agree on most of the big stuff when you really get down to it. But it's the very vocal minority that causes all the trouble on both sides.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say, see, what's really messed up is here, politics is not even a thing for most Canadians in general. Like if you just go talk to the average person on the street, they don't give a shit. They don't watch the news. They don't pay attention. They really don't care. But that little vocal minority that you just mentioned has kind of wormed its way into all parameters of the national conversation, right? And this kind of like gotten all the way up to like corporations. So, you know, like even though nobody really cares, right? Any given workplace, let's say, will do things like, I don't know, like sensitivity training, or I don't know, like they'll like the various holidays and this and that, which is cool. Like that's fine, you know what I mean? But it's like it's very tone deaf to the average Canadian, I think, to be totally honest.
We've got username. Libs tend to be a little more subtle with the insults. Republicans say it outright. It's more bold. I'll give them that. You know what? I would have agreed with you up until about 2016. Because I never ever thought I would see the day where someone would, in all seriousness, call me a Nazi.
Yeah, that's... Well, even I remember in an earlier conversation that you and I had, I asked you if, because you're from Indiana.
Yep.
Right? You're from Indiana. So I asked, like, I'm not like an expert on American history and geography and whatnot, but I asked if Indiana was part of the Confederacy, and you, like, that shocked you. You're like, no fucking way.
Well, it didn't shock me. It's just that, no,
right.
Indiana was very, and Kentucky, too, was not part of the Confederacy. A lot of Kentuckians find that out and are like, what? We weren't? The fuck?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't understand how somebody could label you a Nazi. Has that happened to you? Like,
yes, it happened. It happened on TikTok when I don't even remember what the video was about, but I remember. It was a short that we'd uploaded when we were talking about, I was basically saying, and this was before the photograph was released by Trump on Truth Social. I said that if it comes down to Trump and DeSantis in a Republican primary, Trump is going to go low and start slinging shit at DeSantis, when that is the stupidest thing for the Republican Party to do at this stage. And then somebody on there was like, DeSantis is a fucking fascist. And I'm like, okay, how? Because I don't know. I think it was about 2016 when this started to really happen on a daily basis. Like, apparently we forgot that you can, but like, you can't just say shit and not have to back it up. Like, you can't say that Ron DeSantis is a fascist and then not be able to give examples of actual fascism. And then he's like, he's banning books. I'm like, okay, well, let's define banning books here. Because if you're talking about eliminating certain texts from school libraries that I think any sane person would deem inappropriate for a third grader, then yeah, I guess he's a fascist.
Agreed.
But if you're a normal human being and understand what book banning actually is, that does not happen in the United States.
Certainly. I mean, it happens even less. It happens less there than it does here, right?
Because you can't. Yeah, because you can't. Exactly. You literally can't do it. If you try, your ass will get sued and you will be stopped. You cannot ban. And it's like, okay, like, I don't even have anything particularly risque, but I can own any book that I can own any book that I want. Like, I remember I saw a post on Facebook where they said Animal Farm had been banned. Really?
Whoa! Isn't that like that's like a staple of like literary education, is it not? I remember we had to read it in school.
Yeah, I had to read it in school. I think it should be required reading because
absolutely,
like, the book is a fucking parody, and yet like it's a parody intended to be like, oh, this looks familiar, but it's just amazing. We literally, as a species, we saw the shit happen. We saw it happen in real time. There's actual footage, not just photographs. There's fucking film footage of all this stuff happening. And yet there are people still clamoring for it as though, well, you know, they didn't really do it right. It's like, I don't know.
You know, my Virginia girlfriend is telling me that. She said that's wrong. She said that they literally have book bannings about transgender identity in Florida and even in Maryland.
Okay, but that's where you get into what is a book banning. Are you saying the government is telling you cannot read or own that book? Because that is what a book ban is. If it's eliminated from a school library or curriculum, that is not a ban.
Right.
Now, you can have an argument as to whether or not books should or shouldn't be allowed in a school curriculum, but that's what school board meetings are for. And this kind of thing. You know, that's the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying they can't read it, mind you. They just, the school can't push it.
She's saying that it's a soft ban. So I would assume that means it's just in, like, within the curriculum, which, you know what, like, there's topics about sexuality and those kinds of things. It's a very, very, like, dangerous subject just in terms of, like, developing kids, right? And I'm not saying that, like, you know, kids or even, like, let's say pubescent teens or whatever that are going through these changes, obviously they should have access to education and be able to have conversations about the stuff that's happening in their bodies and that kind of thing. But at the same time, right, the problem is I think that a lot of the literature that's, like, written, let's just say, like, by the left in general, right, it has a very political tinge, and it's, like, pushing kids into a specific direction, and I think that's the wrong idea. I think the best way to go is you present an equal amount of ideas across the board, and you let kids kind of, you know, interact with it as they would, you know what I mean? Like, no, don't push them in a direction. Let them just learn on kind of their own premise, right? Like, I don't believe in pushing any kind of agenda on anybody. But,
well, at a certain age, 100%. Certainly, once you get into older, you know, definitely by high school, that should be where no ideas are off limits. But I mean,
exactly.
K through 3, I'm sorry, teach them to write, teach them to do math, and teach them to read. Other than that,
exactly,
you're not there yet.
Exactly. Yeah. See, that's a hot topic button here in Canada. They're, like, doing sexual education to, like, third graders, right? Which is that's kind of fucked up. Like, I
don't even think you should be doing heteronormative.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
it's heterosexual, homosexual, doesn't matter. Like, sex in schools is not an appropriate topic. That's something that should be left to, like, a kid's family.
I'd be just as horrified at stripper story time.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
I mean, I'm down for it, but not the kids.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know. I was a screwed up kid, so maybe, you know, but yeah, I don't want kids to turn out like me. Yeah.
No, so, but I mean, I think sex education is one of those things where once kids start hitting puberty, that's when you start it, but not about necessarily the intercourse part, but like, hey, this is your shit. This is how it works. This is what you shouldn't do to it. Exactly.
You just very basic, like, you know, necessary information, but then anything above and beyond that, it's kind of a family's responsibility to figure it out, right?
Up to a certain age, but then I've met some people that had really fucked up family lives, and like they get into adulthood and have no idea about this shit, and that's when you can start to have the different conversation. But we got to remember, in Florida, I don't think this is the case for the books though, but like the Don't Say Gay bill, which I even hate calling it that because that's not what it is, but that's what everybody knows it as.
I'm not familiar with that. Can you enlighten me as a Canadian?
Okay, so I'm giving you a very, very condensed version. So essentially, what happened is in the state of Florida, the governor signed into law. It's a law that, among another number of other things, essentially saying that, you know, you cannot, as teachers, bring up basically anything sexual, in particular things like queer theory, trans theory, anything overtly sexual in kindergarten through third grade. You can't do it in the school system.
Right.
Now, when that happened, the liberals just, oh my God, you'd have thought somebody shot President Obama. Like, I'm not condoning that, YouTube. But by the way they reacted to it, you would have thought that's what would have happened. And they kept saying it's like, you know, and I think there was even a stink at some award show. I don't think it was the Oscars, or actually maybe it was, because, you know, Amy Schumer was up there, and they got up there and they just all three women got up there and said, gay, 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 gay. I'm like,
right.
You dumbasses.
So
like, you dumbasses
really
didn't read it. It doesn't say,
Right.
Well, no, but everyone was like, it's a Don't Say Gay bill, and then Ron DeSantis is like, did you even read it?
True.
Because you obviously didn't. So yeah, that's the Don't Say Gay bill, which is law in Florida. And then the book, I'm not even going to say it's a book banning, damn it. The book incidents that people are referring to, first of all, a lot of those stories are false, because this idiot on TikTok, so they're saying like, oh, they're opening kids' lockers and confiscating books. I'm like, they can't do that, bro. That's illegal, son. And secondly, I mean, they're not going to do that for a book, but I would hope to God they'd do that for a weapon. Like, I would, yes, open that kid's locker.
Yeah.
I have zero issue with you opening the locker if you think there's a weapon in there.
Actually, speaking of weapons, so a lot of my information that I get about your country comes from my Virginia girlfriend. I have a girlfriend. She lives in Virginia. I won't say where, but so she was telling me, and this is something that is just fucking mind-boggling to me. Bulletproof backpacks is a thing. That is fucking crazy.
I've never actually heard of that. I'm not saying it's not a thing. I've never heard of that, no. And it's worth noting that Indiana recently passed constitutional carry laws. So essentially, and I know there are certain restrictions, but basically if you're 18, you can get a gun.
Right. So she lives in like the greater Washington area, so maybe that might have something to do with it. Like, you know, aside from like they do like lockdown drills and if there's an active shooter and this and that, but then she was telling me, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get my my niece and nephew bulletproof backpacks. And I was like, what? And she was showing me, and there's tons of them. Like, that's a thing. Like, kids wear body armor to school, or you can buy it for like, if you can't afford the actual backpack, they have like an insert that's like a bulletproof insert that goes into your backpack. That's fucking crazy to me. Like, I didn't know that that's a thing.
I had not heard of that personally, but I don't have kids, so
yeah,
I don't.
She's like, I literally sent you the Amazon link. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's crazy, man. Like here,
that is crazy. And actually, it's interesting you bring that up because I just recently on the channel, I recently let people know that I subscribe to Daily Wire Plus because I'm curious about some of their movies and documentaries.
How is it?
I've only watched a couple things, but What is a Woman is actually a really good. Oh. Now, I have my issues with it, which I lay out in the review, but it was better than I expected.
Oh my God! What is a Woman was so good. What do you mean? That thing is just packed with truth. I loved it. I gave props for the fact that it's Daily Wire, so you know where they're coming down on it, and they don't shy away from it. Matt Walsh approaches it the way he should have. It's like, you know where his bias is, and I only say bias in the academic sense because I agree with him. Like that's where I come down on it. But I think a documentary should. I don't think there's ever been such a thing as a truly objective documentary. So everybody's giving it's like, well, this thing decided what it was from the beginning. It's like, so does every other documentary on planet Earth. You really think Al Gore didn't know where he was going with An Inconvenient Truth? Yeah, that's very true. And also too, you know what though? I think Matt Walsh did a good job of at least like all the people he interviewed is from like a very wide spectrum of people on the left. You have like doctors, you have psychiatrists, you have just like regular individuals. I think he did a decent job of trying to reach out to a lot of people. And what's really like kind of telling is the fact that a lot of those people don't want to have the conversation in general. They just completely shut down, or they instantly like, oh, like you're trying to frame this a certain way, or you're gonna copy and edit this, when really like I don't think, as far as I can tell in most of the interviews, he didn't really do a lot of like editing and cutting up what they said, right? And really he's just asking basic questions. He's just very straightforward, very, it's not like a surprise, it's not like a gotcha moment, I thought, at least.
No, there was only one moment where they did any sort of like real, I'm not even gonna say it was trickery, but when he was interviewing that gender studies professor, and I think they did it for comedic effect, not that they were hiding anything, but it was when he was going on and on and on, and it was like kept saying a bunch of nonsensical doublespeak bullshit, and they kind of flowed it together. I think they did that for comedic effect, but and I get it, because if he's going on for 20 minutes, you can't have all that in there. The documentary would be too long. Nobody would want to watch it. But that's really the only time I could see. And then some of his interviews on the right were a little bit, I'd say, unqualified, because he did, I guess he was kind of like tertiarily involved, that Star Wars store owner. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, because I got a dick.
Yeah, see, that guy, that Star Wars guy was such a bad choice to represent the conservative community. Like, those are the kind of types where it's like, that guy that guy doesn't do much learning. That guy's not really open to knowledge. He's just like kind of, set in his ways, I guess. So I was kind of disappointed about that.
I think they did that one for the lulz.
Okay, fair.
But then you had Jordan Peterson in there, who I thought was probably the best interview of the entire documentary, because he doesn't dismiss the other side. He's like, well, listen, yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, please.
No, I was saying he's like, well, listen, it's not as simple as you're right, but it's not as simple as you're laying out, and here's why, and that's why I love Jordan Peterson.
I'm hoping he runs for prime minister here, which he's
talked about.
Seriously. Yeah, and I hope to God he does, because he's like he's at the front of fighting against C-13 or whatever that bill is. So we have a bill here that forces compelled speech. Oh man, that's fantastic.
The other one's in the other room.
Man, I love Jordan Peterson. Is the fucking man. He is literally the smartest guy on our planet right now, and I'm so proud that he's Canadian, like myself. What's crazy?
He's one of your greatest exports, I will say.
He literally is. And actually, what's crazy is I have a couple friends who took psych at University of Toronto a long time ago. They're a little older than myself, and they've had classes with him, and I was just even before he was kind of famous, I used to watch his lectures on YouTube, and I was like, wow, what a cool teacher.
I discovered him literally right before he just exploded. I was trying to remember. Well, I think it was after his first explosion, but right before he went to international superstardom, because I had caught I think it was his first interview he had done with Joe Rogan, and I was watching clips. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
It was like he's fucking brilliant, whoever he is, but I could listen to this dude talk for hours.
Oh man, and you know what too? His daughter, Michaela Peterson, she's such a babe, first off. Nobody can deny that, but also too, she's just as articulate and intelligent as Dr. Peterson. I also love Michaela Peterson as well. They're certainly a power couple. Apparently, he's going to be releasing Peterson University or something. So his own.
I've heard about that.
Courses.
Which frankly, I think that if that's allowed to move ahead the way he's talked about it, I think that'll do more than him being prime minister. But I mean, if he could do both,
sure. Well, yeah, he has an entire team behind him, right? Maybe he'll draft out the curriculum of the courses, whatever, but he's not going to be the one teaching it or managing it. This is literally a source of income for him, and also a way for him to spread some of the stuff that he teaches, which I think is fantastic. And the thing is, with Dr. Peterson, I think that it really upsets the leftist community in general that he's so, not only is he super intelligent and articulate and everything, but he's also very qualified. Well, he's very qualified.
He's a liberal.
Is he? Well, yeah, he's a classical liberal, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But if you took the Jordan Peterson today and dropped him in even 2010, 2011, he would have been considered a liberal.
100%, right? And see that kind of ties back to what you're saying about how the left are so quick to use the trigger word. Oh, this person's a Nazi. This person's a Nazi. But really, these are just rational ideas that I guess have fallen out of fashion in the last decade.
These are ideas. These are ideas that fought the Nazis.
Exactly. The ideas of personal liberty and
freedom of speech, freedom of autonomy, freedom of defense, freedom of thought. Yeah, you want to know who banned books? The fucking Nazis. You want to know
yeah, exactly, my friend. Exactly. Right. Even too, I don't know. I have a couple friends who are very, very much on the left, and they're vegans. And my one friend in particular, he's
It's worth noting that Hitler was a vegetarian.
I was just going to say, so he lent me this book. It's called Meat is for Pussies. Hold on, I'll show it to you.
Meat is for pussies? That's such a stupid thing to say.
Here, hold on. This is a list of some books that I'm reading right now. Two of them are from my Virginia girlfriend. But this one, it's Meat is for Pussies. So it's a story of this guy who's a punker, and he had all these health problems and whatever, and then he became a vegan. And the whole book is him talking about how veganism is counterculture and everything. And so anyways, my liberal friends who are very vegan, they're very much meat, it reinforces racial stereotypes and this and that. I'm like, bro, Hitler was a fucking vegan. He was a vegan. He was very anti-meat. So I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting read. See, I'm open to stuff. I'm open to ideas.
Yeah,
Like
I'm not sure that you could say Hitler was a vegan. I don't know how he felt about milk and honey and whatnot, but definitely a vegetarian. Yeah, I just remember before the vegans attack, it was like Hitler was not a vegan. He was one step he was one step away, and I'm pretty sure that veganism wasn't really a thing yet.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So
he probably
but...
if Hitler was around today, he probably would be a vegan. He'd be like, "Oh, meat is for pussies."
Yeah. Right.
You know what else is for pussies? Democracy.
Democracy. Oh, it's like it's funny though because the country, like my country, is definitely turning fucking socialist. So Hitler would have had a fucking field day here. He could have been a vegan. He could have been, anti-free speech. Like we have that Bill C-13 or whatever it is, which compels speech. So
C-16.
C-16. Sorry, yeah. So
I thought there was a new one.
No. But C-16 is a real thing. Like you basically, if I misgender or dead name somebody, I could hypothetically go to jail. Definitely will pay a big fine and hypothetically could go to jail for repeat offenses, which is fucking crazy. Like Jordan Peterson talks about that. Like there's never been, there's been bills banning speech, but compelled speech. Like nope. That's fucking like crazy. But that being said, even though I live in a crazy socialist paradise, I like Canada, to be honest. I like that we don't have guns. I like that we have to, the healthcare thing. The healthcare thing is a big issue. And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm jumping around topic to topic a lot because
it's what we do.
Okay, cool. So I don't know. I like healthcare. We have the fucking best maple syrup in the world. And actually, in terms we were talking about meat. So one of the things that my Virginia girlfriend says when she comes here is that the quality of our food is like fucking way better than you guys. And she literally like stocks up. Like every time she comes, she brings an empty suitcase just so she can buy stuff. Like apparently our craft dinner is better. I don't know.
I went to Mexico for 2 weeks a few years ago, and everybody I went with was shocked because they thought I was going to get sick when I went down there. I did not get sick when I was down there. However, when I got back to the States, almost immediately I was sick for 2 weeks.
Really? That's so interesting. So she, Virginia girlfriend, I'll just say the Virginia girl, she is gluten intolerant, but she can eat bread and pizza and shit like that when she comes here, which is really fucking weird.
Well, I don't think it's much of a secret that the shit that they're putting, I've heard enough people talk about it. It's like, it's sure some of it is, people are eating too much or they're eating too much sugar, but it's the shit they're putting in the food, man.
Right. Like, she was saying
that's what it is.
Oh, right. Yeah, she was saying that like if you compare the box of ingredients because we were talking about specifically craft dinner, right? Like half of the ingredients you can't even fucking pronounce in American craft dinner, but in ours it's just like cheese and I don't know, it's like condensed powdered cheese and shit like that. And she was telling me that your guys' bread doesn't mold. We had that conversation about bread. Like so
it takes it longer to, yes.
Does it really? So if you don't mind me asking, where do you store your bread personally? Like do you store it in like a bread box or like the cupboard or
I'll be honest, I don't buy loaves of bread, but when I did when I was growing up, we kept it in a bread box. Now I know some weird people that keep theirs in the freezer. And
that's what we have to do. No, that's what we have to do because our bread goes bad within like 2 days. Like if you buy like even just like I'm not even talking about like good bread because I like bread. But if like I'm talking about like fucking Wonder Bread. Like if you buy a thing of Wonder Bread and you keep it in an unrefrigerated like a bread box or a cupboard, it'll be bad within 3 days for sure. You'll already have mold. So because I live on my own, what I had to start doing is putting it in the fucking freezer because I learned like that's the best way to like preserve the molecular integrity of the fucking bread. So I have to defrost each slice as I eat it. Otherwise it goes fucking bad.
That's the secret though. What I've seen a lot of people do though is because you're doing it the right way. But what people don't understand is that when bread gets wet, it speeds up that process.
Yeah.
So it's like you said,
it in the fridge is bad.
Yeah. But some people they'll take the whole thing out of the freezer, get their shit ready, and lo and behold, it's outside for 10 minutes. It's like you've started the process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, like if you keep it in the fridge, obviously it's gonna go fucking worse because the fridge is a humid environment, right? But
Right.
yeah, she was telling me like her bread, like she literally keeps it on the counter and it stays for like a week and a half or
I was
2
gonna say,
weeks.
I think it stays for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I've never seen bread stay that long. Like that's nuts. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
wild.
weird.
No, that's
That's
true.
so
And then
strange.
we were looking at the ingredients on that bag of Doritos that Eric imported from Canada, and
What flavor did you guys get? Barbecue?
it was a certain type of barbecue, but apparently they don't have it in the
Barbecue.
States. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, old barbecue. Yeah. So okay, hold on. Wait, since we're talking about chips, what do you guys have against fucking ketchup chips?
I don't know, man, but as a
What?
I'm a ketchup hater, so
Really?
yeah,
Oh man, I don't know. Really?
Ketchup,
That's a Canadian thing, I guess.
oh man, ketchup is fucking gross, dude. And I know
What?
I'm weird. I'm weird for an American.
I was gonna say, yeah, you guys like invented ketchup, I think, but we
Okay,
eat ketchup.
we invented nuclear bombs too, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't love those.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Actually, so did you know, fun fact, the bikini, like the swimsuit, is named after, I believe, the H bomb that was detonated in Bikini Atoll. Atoll. I don't know how to pronounce that place.
Bikini
But,
Atoll, yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't. Yeah. So that's where the bikini was named from. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Ketchup. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, ketchup is like everybody here eats ketchup with fucking everything. The only thing I don't eat it with is KD, like, because that's just fucking weird. But that's like super caker, like. So when I say caker, right? So I'm Portuguese, right? Yeah, I'm Portuguese. Okay, so I'm not really considered like true Canadian. So true Canadians are like English, Irish, Scottish, French, and Native, and they're like a mix of.
Whoa! Back up.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're not considered a true Canadian?
Like real Canadians are cakers, right? Like it comes from mungie cake. Mungie cake was a term that Southern European immigrants would call like Anglo Europeans, okay, because they ate cake, and like cake isn't really a thing in like Italian and Portuguese. Like we don't eat cake as dessert, right? So that's why they call them mungie cake. So whatever, cakers, right? So a caker is like Carrie from Port Perry. Like how you doing, Barb? Like somebody out in the fucking sticks wearing flannel. And yeah, so they're like real Canadians, and their ethnicity would be English, Irish, Scottish, French, and or Native, or a mix of those five. Yeah, so that's a caker. And then the way that you can kind of tell someone's like Canadianness, I guess, here is like, do you own a cottage? Right? So cakers tend to own cottages because their fucking grandfather bought it in like the 30s for like 50 cents, bought a plot of land, and now cottage country is very, very, very expensive. Like it's basically like owning a second house, maybe even more expensive than owning a house. So yeah, so that's like a good way to measure how caker someone is if they own a cottage. So now that like Canadian, like, sorry, excuse me. Now, okay, so Eastern and Southern Europeans, now that we have been here for like more generations, now we're starting to buy cottages, right? So you'll have like communities up north of like Italians, or like I don't know, like Slavic peoples, like I don't know, Polish or whatever, Slovenian, shit like that. Yeah, and they're just starting to move out there, but then like you can tell who's new because they have no idea about cottages. That's like not a thing. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm gonna simultaneously burst some international people's bubbles and piss and piss off the left. So that's such a strange thing, you saying that you're less Canadian. Were you born in Canada?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And like to Portuguese people, I'm caker as fuck.
Okay.
But to Canadians, I'm not caker at all, because even like, so something that somebody pointed out to me, one of my ex-girlfriends, right? I was talking to her about something on Thursday, right? And she's like, you talk like an immigrant. I'm like, what do you mean? Because Portuguese people don't have the sound TH, like th. So like I learned English from people who have English as a second language. So when I say Thursday, it usually comes out as Thursday, which I don't even register, doesn't even like, I speak great English. Like it's my first fucking language. And
right.
Yeah, and then she's like, yeah, you talk like a fucking immigrant. So yeah, so I'm not European enough for the Europeans. I'm not Caker enough for the Cakers.
Well, that's such a weird concept, because barring, like, there are racist fucks everywhere, but barring those assholes, like, I don't know, man. Like, unless you're like a legitimate immigrant, and even then, if you've been here long enough, and especially if you're like a citizen or even here, I don't want to bring this up into the legality, but definitely if you're a citizen, and even if you're just like a permanent resident, you've been here forever, like, I mean, you're just a fucking American. Certainly if you were born here.
I think that's definitely a feature of the melting pot aspect of your culture, right? Because everybody is an American first before they're anything else. So here in Canada, like, as much as, like, we're very accepting and very not racist, but at the same time, everyone is very aware of where they came from, because I think that Canada kind of fosters the ability to, like, preserve your culture. So if you want to come here and don't want to assimilate, you don't have to, and nobody will make you, and everybody will fucking know it. You know what I mean? Like, I know tons of people, like, even like, let's say Uber drivers, they've lived here fucking 20 years, whatever, and they just didn't want to learn English, so they don't, and they get by. So it's not like, that melting pot thing isn't a thing here. So,
well, it was, it was like that here for a very, very long time. And to a certain extent it is with immigrant communities, because, like, it's not as prevalent in places like Indiana, but certainly big cities, you'll have areas. And actually, even here, I joke around and I call it Little Michoacan. That's a because it is. There are literally just rows of stores and restaurants that I guarantee you, if you go in there and you don't, and like, everybody speaks Spanish, I guarantee it. But it's just a little area that's inside of this bigger city, and there are. I was made privy to this really small area of, like, where there's just a bunch of Nigerian immigrants that live there, and there's
interesting.
Yeah, and they all speak their languages, but most of them, well, pretty much, if you come over here from Nigeria, you pretty much have to speak English, because if you want to work. But it's not that uncommon. But, like, particularly with Spanish-speaking cultures, there are families, I should say, that have people in their households that don't speak English, and they just kind of figure it out. You know, and that's a lot of people fail to understand that the United States has no de facto language, legally speaking. Like, the de facto language is English, but there's no law that says you have to speak, or even official documents have to be in any certain language. And in fact, I think we probably hold the record for accessibility to most government documents in the most available languages on planet Earth. I would make that argument, because, like, for example, Mexico has a law that says all official documents have to be in Spanish. Like, that's a law on the books.
But that's not a law in the United States.
Nope, and a lot of people act like it is, but it's not.
Interesting.
Well, that would violate the First Amendment.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I wonder if that's a thing here. Well, actually, I guess, you know what? Official documents here have to be in English or French. Like, I know that for sure. Yes, they has to be English or French. But
a lot of states probably have some sort of statute that says there has to be an English copy.
Sure.
But like, there's just not. And if there are any lawyers watching this that know better, but federally, I mean, you can't do that.
Right. So, just out of curiosity, like, I mean, I'm not very knowledgeable about Indiana per se. What is Indiana like? Like, ethnically, like, do you guys have a lot of different kinds of groups of people? Or...
There are. I will admit there are certain areas where it's like, damn, there's a lot of white people, but
yeah.
Right. I remember, because my ex-wife hailed originally from Alabama, and the first time her family came up here, her mother said to me with a straight face. Oh no, I'm sorry. The first time I went down to Alabama, her mother said to me with a straight face, said, "You probably don't see that many black folks up there." And I'm like, "Lady, I live in Indianapolis. Like,
right.
Like there's plenty of black people in Indiana." But
interesting.
It's interesting to me because I don't live here anymore, but I work in an area that has like a really surprisingly high like Korean and Indian and Pakistani population. Like, there are Korean churches, there are mosques, there's a Hindu temple somewhere. Like, it's one of those things where if you actually look around, you'll see. And Chicago, for example, has a giant Polish population.
Right.
Huge huge Polish population.
Yeah.
There are pockets, and definitely like the Hispanic population is pretty big as well. And like I said, there are kind of areas that are more heavily populated than others. But if you go anywhere in any of the big cities, you're likely to see a whole swath of.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, yeah, Chicago. Wait, hold on. Sorry, excuse my Canadianness. Chicago is in Indiana.
No, Chicago's in Illinois, but it's barely like
Illinois.
it's not far.
Barely.
It's not far from the northern border.
Okay. Are you closer to Indianapolis or Chicago?
I'm in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like in the greater Toronto area, and there's like literally everything. And again, Virginia girlfriend came here and she's like, wow, I'm shocked because apparently where she lives, there's only white people, black people, and Mexicans. And that's it.
Now she, depending on where she is in Virginia, that might not be all that surprising because I did notice there are certain areas of the American South where that's pretty much the population density.
Is that considered South Virginia?
Barely, but it is because they were part of the Confederacy, see?
Ah, interesting.
So it's considered, yeah, she's a Confederate.
Oh, wait, my phone's going off. Oh, she says she's in Springfield. Springfield, yeah.
I'm not sure where that's at exactly, but
I don't know. It's some fucking town.
I don't know, but there is one thing that Americans and Canadians have in common. Well, there's many things, but there's one big one, and that's other people. Mexico has this to a certain extent too, but other people not understanding how vast our countries are.
Right. Well, it's like literally like okay, yes, it's vast, but you guys have like so much higher population density because outside of Toronto, man, like our country is fucking barren. Like I leave the GTA regularly and it's fucking barren. Like if you're not in Vancouver, Montreal, or Toronto, there's literally nothing. Like your closest neighbor is like fucking 2 miles away. Like that's not a stereotype.
Oh yeah,
there's
100%.
Yeah, like even to, and like that's one of the reasons why cottaging is such a big thing here because fucking we have the space for it, right? And we have a lot of lakes, so you can just you literally drive at 2 hours in any direction, and you'll be in the middle of fucking Timbuktu, like in the middle of fucking nowhere. Yeah,
yeah, and that was I think that hit me when I visited France when I was in high school, and we took a train. We took a train from Paris to Versailles. And it was approximately just shy of 3 hours, right? And all the American people on the train were like, "Oh, that wasn't bad at all," you know?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, fuck, we'll be from here to my family goes to an area in Tennessee, and that's a 6-7 hour drive, and I consider that short.
Oh shit!
Like
really?
that's not a terrible drive.
I think the furthest I ever drove was when I used to go to Michigan a lot. Because I had some friends there. So I went to Lansing. I went to Romulus, which is right outside of Detroit, and I went to I went to some other place. But that place, like that was like a good like 12 hours because it's like 6 hours to the border at Windsor, and then from there you still have to drive down the I-95.
Right.
And yeah, that was fucking crazy. But I did get to try all kinds of delicious American fast food. Yo, Checkers. Have you ever had Checkers?
I have.
You know what Checkers is?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Where we are, it's called Rallies, though. It's the same thing, but
yeah. But it has like the checkerboard logo pattern. Yes, yes, I know about Rallies. So I went there. Fast food here in Canada is fucking crazy expensive. It's like if you buy yourself like a Big Mac meal, it's like after taxes, it's like $17. It's fucking like crazy expensive. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like $12.99 if you just get a regular drink and fries, and then plus taxes, it comes up to about $16-17. Yeah, it's very expensive. And I went there and we went to fucking Checkers, and first off, your value sandwiches are the size of our regular hamburgers, which was fucking crazy. And $3 for 2 chicken sandwiches. I spent $12 on food the entire weekend I was in Lansing. $12. I just ate those chicken sandwiches because I was broke as fuck. It was crazy. Yeah.
I think the dollar menu at McDonald's was the single most saving grace for college students in America.
Yo, we don't have a dollar menu anymore. They cut us off, like, because it's too expensive. Yeah. I guess maybe
that's fucking fascism.
That is fucking fascism. I'm very upset, and actually, I'm hoping, because definitely we like, if you ask anybody here, Trudeau is going to get voted out this coming election. I believe the election is in 2024. So next year, Trudeau is definitely going to get voted out, and hopefully we can do something to change that.
So Brittany commented, okay, but $16 Canadian is like $7 American, which actually she's got a point. I don't think it's quite that drastic, but that's a valid point. I'm gonna see though. What is USD to Canadian?
I don't think it's that far off right now.
Oh, so $1 US is 137 Canadian.
Holy shit! Wow.
So it's
courage.
Yeah, so it's not quite as drastic, but point still stands. Exchange rate is a thing.
Well, still, yeah. I mean, whatever. Like for $16 to me is a lot. Okay, I don't know about your.
No, I agree. I agree.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but that's fucking crazy. Yeah, man. Everything is super expensive here. That's one of the really shitty things about living in Canada. Everything is very, very, very expensive. Like, for example, car insurance. Like in the area of the GTA where I live has the highest rate of accidents in the entire country. So our car insurance is like if you're like a new driver and you're over 25, you'll pay like $250 a month.
Yeah, but I've heard about traffic in Toronto, so that's not terribly shocking to me.
Oh, dude, traffic is fucking awful, and we have the worst public transit system. We have the worst, especially like if you're downtown Toronto, you have access to the subways, but we only have 2 subway lines. We literally have like a U-shaped one and then one that goes east-west to like the suburbs, and yeah, that's it. And like
I will tell you right now, we have the worst public transit system because we basically don't have one. Like, we have a bus line here and it sucks.
Do you guys have subways?
No, not here. Like, certain cities have. Kind of, sort of, but it's not.
Indianapolis?
No,
really?
Well, Indianapolis as a city, it's kind of weird. So, see, in America, we like to build out, not up.
In America,
right? Excluding places like Manhattan, where you just ran out of space and you have to start building up. We really do like to build out, which creates a problem though when you're trying to plan for public transit. Atlanta, however, has a really good system. They call it the MARTA. It's not totally a subway, but it is kind of this rail system, but it's very efficient. They have these hubs where you park your car there, but you can get anywhere in the city. And so that's great. So if you're coming in from the suburbs, but you want to go do something in the city, and it's very cheap. So I was a big fan of the MARTA. Probably the best public transit I've experienced was the Metro in Paris, though. That thing was fucking great. It was cheap.
That's complete.
Yeah,
if you look at the subway map, if you look at the subway map for a city like Paris, like they have hundreds of subway lines, right? Or like Tokyo, London, like even Washington. Like, I've looked at the subway map for Washington. It's way better. Like, dude, go Google on your phone right now, Toronto subway map. It's fucking awful. Like, it's so sad compared to all these world-class cities. It's so sad. And the thing is too, right? Because we have like, our weather is so fucked up for 6 months of the year. So when things shut down, yeah, dude, that's supposed to be a world-class city. That's fucking embarrassing.
It's literally for those of you, it's 2 straight lines, a half a straight line, and then this one that looks like a sagging dick.
Oh yeah. The sagging, that's the U, and then they added a couple extensions. So at the very top where you see like that blue line, that's all brand new. They just added that. Now, it's funny because Mississauga is at the end where Kipling is. It's like the far west, right? The mayor of Mississauga, the old mayor, we had this crazy old mayor named, oh my God, what the fuck is her name? Hazel McCallion. Okay, so she was the mayor in Mississauga from like the 50s until she retired, and nobody went against her. Everybody just loved her, and she voted down extending the subway into Mississauga because she didn't want homeless people coming from Toronto, which is so fucked up. So in Mississauga, the buses are fucking terrible and there's no subway. And yeah, if you don't have a car and it's wintertime, it sucks for you. Like you're just gonna freeze your dick off. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is, and part of it, like it's a legit conspiracy. Part of it, of the lack of public transit throughout like the entire United States, because like we don't have any real railway system to speak of, and certainly no high-speed rail that's interstate. Just because like the auto industry is so huge here, and they would lobbyists for the auto industry would kibosh anything like that, even though I think it would revolutionize the American economy.
See, you know what's fucked up? We're kind of stuck because the city of Toronto was built for fucking horses and carriages, right? So there's literally no room to put extra subways, or not extra subways. Sorry, there's no room to put extra highways. We don't really have. I don't think we have those like lobbyist groups. I'm sure maybe we do, but like yeah, they can't really add more highway because there's just no room for it. But they don't want to build more subway tunnels because it'll create congestion everywhere else in the city, because then while they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically Toronto is just in a state of perpetual construction. And then one of the major highways is the QEW, right? Which is when you go into downtown Toronto, it turns into the Gardiner Expressway. The Gardiner is literally like falling apart. Like chunks of it are falling onto people's cars and shit like that because it's so fucking old. And yeah, so basically the city is just in a perpetual state of construction from April onwards to September, October, which is just very infuriating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just made me think though, because I have journeyed to Canada once by car. It was basically,
where did you go?
I can never remember the damn name of the city, but I was in the UP of Michigan, and we were literally like, well, Canada's right there. So fuck it.
It's right there.
It was like, it's right there. It's like 45 minutes away. Let's just fucking go. And I thought it was so funny because we got to the Canadian border, right? And then we stop, and then this lady comes out and she's like, "You have any weapons?" And we're like, "No." She's like, but then, I shit you not, this is how I went. She's like, "You have any weapons?" We're like, "No." "Oh, welcome to Canada."
I believe it. I fucking believe it.
And then we get to the U.S. border. I did nothing wrong, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking get arrested.
I'm a fucking citizen, man. Like, yeah.
It's like, I live here, and I'm going to jail. Like, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
Which I'm convinced that we have chips in our passports because.
Oh, you do? Yeah, you do. Actually, I have my passport. Hang on. So your passport, everybody's passport, it has a thing here. See that? That means it has a chip in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like
and this is exactly what happened, because we were at the U.S. border for a very long time and there wasn't a line. What they did, because we were only in Canada for like 3.5 hours, and we went to a Tim Hortons because I mean, you're in fucking Canada. I'd never been to one, and I will say Tim Hortons is the shit.
Tim Hortons is fucking awesome.
Tim Hortons is fucking awesome, dude. And then we drove around for a bit because we didn't know where we were, and then we ended up going to a mall that had a Walmart connected to it, which I don't know if that's a regular thing in Canada, but here that's fucking weird.
What do you mean? Like your malls don't have Walmart?
No, our Walmarts are standalone. They're very
really.
Oh yeah, no. To have a Walmart connected to a mall, that was fucking weird.
Oh, that's so strange. No, dude, we don't have standalone Walmart. Or wait, no, that's not true. We do have standalone Walmarts, but most of them are attached to malls. Yeah, like I don't know.
It was a standalone Walmart, but it was directly attached to a mall. And we were like, mall Walmart? That's fucking weird.
That's so weird. Hey, do your Walmarts have McDonald's in them?
Some do.
Okay.
The city we went to, I don't know what the abbreviation is. I think it's Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah. Sault Ste. Marie, yeah.
Sault Ste. Marie.
That's not even a city. Sault Ste. Marie's fucking garbage, middle of nowhere, fucking Timbuktu, dude. That's Caker Town, bro. You go there, it's only white people, and they're all talking, "Hey, I'm Carrie from the shoe. How you doing, Barb? Like, let's go grab a bag of smokes." Like those kind of people, yeah. That's Caker Town.
Yeah, I can verify that. Because I remember thinking it was so weird because on the one hand, like if you had drugged me and just dropped me there, in some ways I would have assumed I was still in the US, but then there were some very interesting like differences because I overheard two girls talking. They were working in a store in the mall, and I overheard them talking because they didn't have overly Canadian accents, but then she said I was waiting to get my marks, And it's like, no American would fucking say that.
We get marks? What do you mean? Like
grades?
Marks?
Yeah, school marks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say
marks.
Yeah, we say grades here.
But you guys also say it's 4th grade or 5th grade, not
grade 4.
Grade 5.
Yep.
Yeah, see, that's fucking strange to me. Although, okay, speaking of accents, so I really did want to address this when I came on here. Okay, so we do say A, like that is a fucking thing.
My business partner, my business partner's from Toronto. A is a comma for him.
Yeah. So A is more. It's a what's the word? It's an interrogative that you don't expect an answer for. Like, oh, the weather outside is crazy, eh? Or like, hey, like it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's like a New York A. Like, it's like when I'm trying to address somebody, I'm like, hey, come over here or something, you know?
Yeah.
And one other thing is that we don't pronounce he when it's in the middle or at the end of a word, right? So, okay, say about or outside.
Yeah, it's about.
About. Oh, wait, you guys kind of do it too.
Yeah, we leave the ending off. The hard consonant ending just is softer.
Yeah, like we say like outside. We don't say outside. We say outside.
Yeah, we say outside.
Yeah. Outside, y'all. But you guys say y'all. That's
now, now when you get to the South now, that's a whole different kind of outside. That's outside right there.
Outside,
that's more
outside.
Cajun. See, but there's multiple Southern dialects because you got like Louisiana Southern accent that's a little bit more, real loosey goosey with the ending of the words and all that.
Right.
Then you get to Alabama and it becomes more like a real drawl at the end of the word. And then
like more like lazy.
And then some of y'all down in Georgia, it's kind of it's a mixture. See, you can get a bunch of different dialects coming from, and then there's Tennessee where it's all like, well, hi honey, how are you? Lovely to meet you.
Interesting.
Well, darling, would you like butter with your fucking grits?
A cup of sweet tea.
Tea.
Your Georgia and your Tennessee sound almost Cajun.
Yeah, I know. My Georgia is not great yet, but yeah, that is a little bit more. That's a little bit more Louisiana, and then you get to Florida, and it's just like it's a fucking free for all. Because everybody moves to Florida.
Right. So it's kind of more of like a hodgepodge, I guess.
Oh yeah, it just depends on where you are at any given moment. You'll hear, and it's a 50. If you're walking down the street in Florida, it's literally like a 50-50 shot as to whether that person's Floridian or a tourist.
Interesting. I was gonna say I went to Florida before, and the first memory I have, like this was a long time ago. I was a kid. I went to Florida, and we went to some diner that was close to the airport because we landed at like 4 a.m, and they served us fucking mushy, like oatmeal grits. I guess.
Yep.
Ugh. Disgusting. Do you eat that stuff?
Oh no, grits is fucking gross. Which it's not oatmeal. It's cornmeal, and it is fucking gross.
Oh my god! It looks like cat puke, kind of.
I mean, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend any Southerners. I'm sure your Mima makes it fucking delicious. But
I do. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's fucking gross. I don't know. See, yeah, we in Canada, like the accents that we have. There's like if you're just like regular Canadian, everybody has the same accent from fucking Vancouver to Nova Scotia, but Newfoundlanders talk really weird. They have like their own like next dialect, and then there's Quebecois. So they talk with kind of like a French accent. Would you like a cooling beverage? They talk like that, which is like next level. I don't know. He's a French English comedian. Paul Taylor is his name. He's born in England, but basically raised. His parents are English, but he was basically raised in France. And okay.
In one of his stand-up specials, he talks about he was in college and he majored in French,
right.
rather. But he went to university in France. But for his senior year, he got to study abroad. But since he was, his major was French, he had to go somewhere where they spoke French. So he was like, I decided to go to Quebec. Nobody fucking told me that going to Quebec to study French is like going to England to study culinary.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, yeah. Quebecer French is, even I know the difference because, like, we all learn French in school, and, like, I speak Portuguese, so it's a Latin-based language, so it's very easy to, like, pick up French and whatever. Anyways, I have a friend who's Parisian, and the way that he speaks French, I don't fucking understand it, right? Like Quebecois French is very guttural, and it's very like there's a lot of slang. There's a lot of
it's very guttural French Canadian.
It's very you are English, like they just say all this like crazy shit, and if you're not a Quebecer, then you're like, what are you fucking saying? Like, for example, all of their curse words all have to do with like the church. So like tabernacle is a thing. Yeah. So tabernacle is like the tabernacle, which is like the thing they keep the host in. Or they say calice. Calice is like the chalice that holds the fucking. Sorry, I don't know what religion you are. Were you raised?
I was raised Christian, so I know what you're.
Okay, yeah. So I'm so they're all Roman Catholic. I was raised Roman Catholic. Yeah, this is calice. It has like the fucking thing with the wine. Another thing is munsti, which is like when you spell it, it's like sti is like S''ti, and it means like a motherfucker. I don't know. It's fucking weird, man. It's weird. But then when they talk in English, they're like, "Oh, would you like a cooling beverage?" And then they start speaking French too because they don't like. They're very like all Quebecers are very. And that's been a thing. Like they're very anti-English. Like they get fucking cheese. Like I went to oh shit. I don't think you're familiar with. Okay, do you know what Swiss Chalet is? The restaurant.
No, but I can guess.
Okay, so Swiss Chalet is a Canadian restaurant that Canadians love. It's my absolute favorite. Now they have a version of it in Quebec, but it's not Swiss Chalet. It's called like Roy Hubert or something. I don't know, some fucked up shit. And I have cousins that live in Montreal. Okay, my cousins live in Montreal, and I've gone there a bunch of times, and like we go to this fucking restaurant, and when they hear you speaking English, like the waitress like purposely like pretends that she doesn't understand English, and they talk shit about you. And my cousin is telling me in Portuguese, right? Because he speaks French, English, and Portuguese. He's like, "Oh, that waitress is talking shit about you, fucking English people." I'm like, "Well, tell her to go fuck herself." And yeah,
tell her to go fuck herself in Portuguese.
Yeah, I said, tell her to go fuck herself in French because my French isn't that great, and you know, I wanted it to really hit home, you know.
See, that's the difference here, and I think because like this is one of the many reasons I fucking love capitalism, because it's like, okay, there's a lot of Mexican cuisine is big pretty well anywhere you're at in the United States, and there's a lot of Mexican restaurants. A lot of the staff are bilingual. I mean,
right?
You pretty well have like they pretty much all will speak Spanish, not all, but there's a lot. But the wait staff, like, but if you come in there and don't speak Spanish, like you're not going to get an attitude. They want your money.
Oh, yeah. See, you know what? That you would think that that's how it's supposed to be, and in other places too, it's like that, right? And like actually, like okay, so in Toronto, like if you go to like let's say, let's just say there's a Mexican restaurant in Toronto, and if I went there and I attempted to speak Spanish, they would be so appreciative. They would probably give me like a free dessert or my bill or just some shit.
Yeah. Oh, for real? No, you're not even joking, dude. And when I went to Mexico, I went to like real Mexico. I didn't go to a resort town. I went down to
Where'd you go?
Michoacan, down in Morelia.
Oh man, Cocaine City. That's
yeah.
Like, whoa.
I went with locals. I went with locals though, but
that's awesome.
But like literally, it's not one of those towns where you can count on people to speak English because they fucking don't. And even the ones that do don't want to speak it, you know.
Sure.
When it's just like when you fucking try though. They're like, Spanish is very. I've been told my Spanish is good by so many people, and they're all fucking lying because I don't think my Spanish is good at all. But like, I know enough to get by. But like, yeah, that's the thing. And like, and we have clients all the time at my business where you know it's nothing for people that don't speak. I mean, barely any English. And it's like, sure, there are some racist fucks who will be like, we don't serve them here. We don't speak that language. I'm like. I don't give a fuck where you come from. Your money's good here.
Straight up. See, and that's the attitude that the rest of Canada has. But in Quebec, like, I also think though, like, it has to do with the whole like Quebec culture.
It's the French influence.
Yeah. It's the French influence, but also like they're very conscientious of their struggle for independence. Like, there's a separatist movement in Quebec that somehow wants to transform Quebec into its own country, which is fucking crazy because then it would be completely landlocked. How the fuck, like, dude, how the fuck are you going to import or export anything? Like, it makes no sense. But anyways, they'll be nicer if you attempt French, but they're very like, unless you're in like like if you're in a place like Montreal where it's like everybody speaks English anyways, and it's like a very diverse city, then it's whatever. But like when I was in Quebec, last time I was in Quebec, I went to this place called Limoges, which is actually it's the border of Ontario, Quebec, but it's like a French-speaking town.
Yeah.
Limoges, Ontario, and it's very like they're fucking crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was gonna. What was I completely lost a thought, and it was totally my fault too. No, it was like that when I went to France, though, because it was one of those things where a lot of the people that I went with were just assuming that you could speak English there. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you could, but there were multiple times where particularly once you got out of Paris and you went to some of the smaller places, there were places where legitimately they just kind of look at you and be like,
yeah.
Désolé, no.
Désolé. So when you were there, like, how did you get by not being a French speaker?
At that time I was. At that time I was damn near fluent.
Oh, you're right. You were in probably a French class.
Yeah. I've forgotten virtually all of it, but I'm pretty confident that if you just helicopter dropped me there, it would start coming back. But at the time I was able to walk around. Yeah, but at the time I was able to walk around by myself. In fact, it's funny as shit now, but at the time it scared the living shit out of me. So I forget what town it was in. It wasn't Paris though. It was the town where they have the big white cathedral that kind of looks like the Taj Mahal, but not really.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it, but it's like that very old, very beautiful cathedral. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That town, wherever that is. It's not far from Paris though, I don't believe. But anyway, we were there. I was walking around broad daylight too, but I happened to be going kind of. It's not even really an alley. It's just kind of this this narrow pathway between buildings, right? And then I come out the other side of it, but it's in this like kind of, it was weird. I had two of those that kind of came into this corner sort of thing. So it was tight, but it wasn't, I wouldn't call it an alleyway, but it was tight. And two big, keep in mind, I'm like, I think I'm 15, 16, somewhere 2000. So yeah, I would have been 15. And these two big motherfuckers start walking towards me, like not running, but kind of briskly. And I go, oh, fuck. They're gonna fucking, and I'm alone. Nobody else is there, and I'm ready. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die because I know there's no way I'm winning this fight. Like I'm hoping for my best get. I'm gonna kick the fucking first one in the nuts and just bolt.
Just bolt. That's it.
And he walks up. Tu veux une cigarette?
Oh,
I was like,
he offered you to smoke?
No, he asked me. He asked me. I was like, oh, thank fucking God. No.
That's fucking hilarious.
I was like, no, I don't smoke.
Did you have, okay, let me ask you about Mexico, okay? Because I went to Mexico as well, and you said you were there with the locals, and you were in Michoacan, which is like fucking hardcore Los Zetas territory. So
yeah, nobody fucking told me that before I went.
Really? You didn't do your research? Did you like get into any trouble there?
No.
Did you have any problems?
No.
Oh man.
I don't think anybody was involved in anything illegal, but where they were from is a very very rural, tight-knit area. Now they had a house in the city, just outside of the city. But even then it was kind of like, hey, listen, like I know I don't need to tell you this, but like obviously don't walk around by yourself, especially at night, like especially me, because like they were like, yeah.
So when I went for my cousin's wedding a couple years ago. I went to Playa del Carmen, which is close. It's like an hour away from Cozumel. Okay. I'm not up to date. Okay, it's in Guerrero, I think is the state. Anyway,
Guerrero.
There you go. And me and my cousins ran out of money at a cartel-owned strip club. So that was really, yeah. So can I tell the story?
Absolutely.
It was fucking nuts. Okay, so this was the second last night that we were there. Okay, and this is like I'm there. All my cousins are there, and my cousin who got married, and like a bunch of my family and whatever. We're all at this crazy like adults resort, which was fucking nuts. Like I grabbed weed an hour off the plane. I got weed there. I got blow. It was a whole thing. It was fucking crazy. Now, on that night, it was the Thursday. We were leaving on the Saturday, and the Friday night we were going to this club called Coco Bongo, which is Coco Bongo is fucking crazy. It's like a show and a club and a stage production and all that. Like it's fucking nuts. It's like you'll be walking around. There's like people on stilts and there's fireworks and then they start dancing on stage and then there's like acrobatic guys and lasers, right? So the night before, okay, I'm talking to all my cousins, and we're planning to go to a strip club, which is about half an hour away from the resort. It's called Chili Willy's. And yeah, and my one cousin, Andrew, okay, there's three brothers on that side, and plus some of their cousins, okay? So there's like maybe like 6 or 7 of us guys. So Andrew, the middle one, he's like, oh, I don't want to go, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, man, we're all going, so either you stay here at the resort by yourself or you come. So we go to the strip club, okay? And as the taxi's pulling in, okay, there's like these giant fucking walled gates with barbed wire on top, and the security guard opens this big-ass door, and the taxi goes in and whatever, okay? And so we're inside the strip club. Now, in the strip club there, you can buy the strippers a drink from the stripper menu, which is non-alcoholic, and the strippers will sit on your lap for the amount of time it takes them to drink that drink. So that cousin who didn't want to show up, this guy, bro, he bought his stripper like the most expensive drink. It's like 60 American. Okay, he bought her 3 of them. Okay, so she's sitting, and bro, the strippers, oh my god, there's this blonde stripper that was speaking Spanish. She had like freckles. Woo! Anyways, so we get our fucking bill, okay, and our bill is $1,500, okay, and nobody had money. Our bill was like $400 short. I even went to the ATM with their crazy fees, and I still didn't have enough. So we were like maybe like $300 short on our bill. So I tell the waiter. The waiter comes over. I'm like, hey, amigo, we don't have enough money. He's like, come with me. He takes all of us. Okay, there's like 6 of us. We go to the back. Now in the back, there's like a fucking courtyard. And then there's like a little motel at the back where you can go fuck the strippers. And there's these fucking 3 cartel guys playing dominoes, okay? And their guns are leaning up against the fucking wall. I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to die in fucking Mexico today. I'm going to fucking die. And the waiter's like, tell him. And I was like, sir, I'm so sorry. Like, we don't have enough money. Bro, the guy just looks at me. He's like, okay, you and your amigos stay here. You go to the resort, go get that money. You come back, you all go home. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I go by myself, okay, into the cab, and I go back to the resort. I go and I wake up my dad. Okay, me and my dad were sharing a room because he came late. He was playing. My dad is a drummer like myself, so he was playing some gig. I'm fucking waking up. Dad, get the fuck up. Get the fuck up. Bro, my dad's not getting up. 20 minutes I'm there, right? He was at the tequila bar with my uncle. Okay, he finally wakes up. What the fuck you want? Dad, I need $300. Fuck you. Turns over and goes to sleep. I'm like, what the fuck? And I go in the bathroom. My dad puked all over the bathroom machine. He was fucking wasted. Oh, man. So then I go and I wake up my mom. And I'm like, because, I'm in a different country. I don't have any fucking money. I'm like, Mom, I need $300. Tell me how my mom was so cool about it. She's like, here you go. No problem. So I go home. I fucking paid the guys. We all left. We got home. It's 7 in the morning, and I'm climbing into bed after a long night. The sun's out. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I smell coconut. I'm like, what the fuck? Bro, I look at myself. I'm covered in glitter from the strippers, and I stunk like a stripper because she was sitting on my fucking lap the whole night. Yeah, so that was my sorry the story was so long.
Nothing that crazy happened to me, but in Mexico it can be a very, very wonderful place.
It's wild. Well, see, remember I told you we bought weed an hour off the plane, right? Yeah. So when we had gotten there, we went walking in the town, and there's this kid named Octavio. And he's there, hey, tu quieres la mota? Like, you want weed? And I'm like, yeah. So we go, and we give him $40 American. Okay, keep in mind, weed's legal here, right? So we're, like, very conscientious about price and quality and this and that. He comes back with a 20 bag, like $20 worth. And my cousin's like, no, go get us more. And he sends him back 3 times, and the kid went back. We finally get the right amount. Then my one cousin, Blair, who's a dickhead, he's like, hey, ¿dónde está cocaína? The kid's like, vamos. We go to some fucking alleyway. My cousin gives the guy $100. The guy gave him 2 bags. That's like, he got ripped off. My cousin tried to do the same thing. Bro, the guy goes, like, he whistles. Fucking 10 guys start popping out of alleyways and fucking little, like balconies and shit like that. I'm like, Blair, shut the fuck up. Let's get out of here.
It's like, this is more than fair.
Yeah. I'm like, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, no, I was very grateful to be able to go on that trip because I saw, not drug related, but we visited some of their extended family lived on a ranch. And I mean, when I say in the middle of fucking nowhere, I mean, like, not no indoor plumbing, but it was all connected to a well, but no indoor toilet. I'll put it that way. Actually, they had just showed us the new outhouse they had built, and it was actually quite nice. It was a stone outhouse.
Okay.
It was actually pretty fucking sweet. But it was
wow.
it was an outhouse though. And like I will tell you right now, the average American has no fucking idea what real poverty is.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Dude, I saw real fucking poverty. I saw kids that would rather walk around barefoot most of the time because they had one pair of flip-flops and they didn't want to break them, because if they broke them, they had no shoes.
That's it. You know, actually, they appreciate, like, when you tip them like $5 or whatever, they're so fucking grateful for it. Like, they're so, like, you can see it in their face. They're not just like, oh, whatever, like stupid Americans and shit. They're like genuinely like, yo, I'm gonna feed my family for the next week and a half with this $5. Like,
well,
that's
what's really funny is because it's also very common in Mexico, like people at intersections and there's street performers or street vendors. There's kids selling candy, all kinds of shit. And I remember I saw this one kid, right? He was selling I can't remember, there's some kind of fruit juice thing. Like, it was real innocent. And I did the math and I was like, well, fuck, we could buy all that for like maybe 200 pesos.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I was getting ready to do it. And then my girlfriend at the time was like, no, he won't do it though. I'm like, what do you mean he won't do it? I'm like, no, he won't sell you all of them because then he won't be able to sell them to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, well, yeah, but he can go home for the day. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's not just about him. Like, because if he doesn't sell to people when they want it, they're not going to come back. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Exactly.
So I definitely bought drinks for everybody. I spent
awesome.
like 40 pesos.
Dude,
like,
that's crazy. See,
and my God, you'd have thought I'd given him a bar of gold. Like,
yeah. Did you notice that, like, whenever you spend in American, they always give you pesos back?
Now, I did not spend any American down there. I converted all of it.
Oh, really?
Because, well, I don't think they would have taken it in most places. I mean, they probably would have, but I don't think they wouldn't have known how to. And plus, it's very weird down. I don't think many people would have taken it, particularly in the rural areas, because they wouldn't have. Now, I did see there were a couple times where, like, this family would give members of their family like a few $100 bills because, like, they could go change it, right? But
right.
But it's like, Jesus Christ! I think he gave one dude like $400, and it was like he'd given him a kidney.
Oh shit!
Like,
wow. that's really generous. Wow.
Well, I know, guys, but I'm telling you, that's the level of poverty these guys have. Because, like, don't get me wrong, $400 ain't nothing, but I mean, we're talking to him being able to feed his family for months.
Dude, $400 is much more than a month's wage. That's like probably like 3 or 4 months' wages.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then I thought it was, and like very commonplace, especially in the more rural areas, like concrete floor, like a very basic roof line that doesn't even have like a close support at the very top. Like, rain will get in this house if it rains.
Oh wow!
Like that kind of shit. Like, this is not, and those are the nice houses.
Right.
And then, like, I thought it was funny. I was cracking these kids up. This is another funny story. We're also way out in the boonies. So, like, not only do these people not speak English, a lot of them have never even heard the English language, particularly the children. And there was this little girl. She might have been like 6 years old, and she came up to me, and I understood what she was saying, but I didn't really know how to explain. She asked me if I could fix her bicycle. And I'm like, I said, no, yo no puedo. And then, but then, like, I can't really extrapolate more because she doesn't understand why, because every man she knows can just fix shit.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't, first of all, I don't know what's wrong with it. And second of all, I don't have any tools. So unless it's something real basic, which I'm sure her father could have taken care of anyway, like, I don't know. So I'm trying to, and I don't have the words. So then I turn to my girlfriend. I'm like, can you, like, help me out here?
Yeah.
And then the little girl looks at me like, what the fuck is he saying? And then my girlfriend had to explain. It's like, he doesn't speak Spanish like you and I do. And it just did not compute for her. She's like, what, he can't talk?
Oh, really? Wow. So they're really like way out there. Where, like, they don't even come into contact with tourists. Like, this is
no. This is not
authentic Mexico. Wow.
We were out in the mountains, like, probably at least an hour. We were at least an hour outside of Morelia.
Wow,
but
that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful to see it and experience
for sure.
it.
Was it your girlfriend who prompted you to go there? Because you said
her family's from there.
Oh, cool. See, that's like, you know what? Those are always the best experiences, I think, because
dude,
it's not touristy. Like, but the
not
food
at
must
all.
have been fucking unreal.
Oh, dude, the food was so good.
Oh,
I'll explain it this way. Before I went there, I did not really care for chorizo. Turns out,
okay.
I just wasn't having good chorizo. Because
You know-
chorizo in Mexico is fucking amazing.
See, it's so weird. Like, people talk about chorizo, whatever. We have Portuguese chouriço, which is like, I don't know. I guess it's something similar or something, but I always thought that people were just mispronouncing the Portuguese one, but apparently it's completely different. I don't know.
Yeah, it's different. Although another really funny story was we went to first, and another thing that there are some Americans that even I know that would be horrified at what they would consider a nice restaurant down there. But I mean, the food's fucking amazing. And we went to this one restaurant that, oh my God, it was the best chorizo I've ever had in my life, and some of the best steak I've ever had in my life. And
my friend, I am so sorry to cut this short, but I have to be off at 10. I have a prior commitment that I must. I was enjoying our talks for so long.
We'll just do it again. We'll just do it again.
Yeah, please. I would love to come back on when the other guy, I forgot the other guy's name.
Yeah, Eric. Well, and then
Eric,
fuck it. I'll even. I'll do you one better. I have another podcast, and I need an interview for March.
I'm in.
So let's fucking do it.
I hope the viewers like it. That's the most important.
This is great. I will wrap that story up really quick because it's really funny.
Yeah, please. I'm so sorry. Yes.
No, you're fine. Everybody was chipping in on the guy who said he was gonna go pay the bill. I'm pretty sure he made a profit. Because everybody's handing I think the bill was like 1,500 pesos, which sounds like but I mean I'm talking. That's there were 25 people that ate. I'm not even joking.
Oh wow!
But people are passing up 500 peso notes and shit. So I'm pretty sure he made money.
Oh, for sure he did. 1,500 pesos is like fucking $15, $20. Like that's
it's not. Bro. Yeah, it's not. It's not. I don't think it's quite that cheap. But I mean, again, it's not a lot of money. But yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Even by our standards, to feed that many people, that's dirt cheap.
Oh, for sure. And all the food, dude, all that food's grown locally, and it was handmade with love by, what do they call Abuela? Abuela was in the kitchen pounding out those fucking tortillas.
Dude, Abuela made some sick food. Just
saying. Oh my God.
Actually, it was mostly las tías, pero no sé.
Okay. Listen, man, I'm so sorry that I have to cut it short, but I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. Long live Average Intelligence Podcast. I would love to be back on again.
Oh, we'll bring you back on because we didn't really get into very much adversarial things about Canada versus the United States.
Next time, let's argue. I'm down.
Yeah, next time we'll argue. We'll definitely argue next time.
I'm fucking down. I'm so sorry. I have a prior obligation.
You're fine, my friend. You can go ahead and jump off whenever. I'm just going to lean him out, and then we'll wrap up the podcast.
Appreciate that. Guys, take care. Have a good night, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, fuck Canada. Just kidding. Thank you for enjoying this episode of the Average Intelligence Podcast. As always, hopefully you're a little bit less average and a little bit more intelligent. We can dream, right? As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure when you subscribe to hit that notification bell so you get notified of all of our videos, shorts, and live podcasts. But you can catch the podcast every week, Thursday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can always check out the video once it's done and aired. I completely forgot to tell you all about the sponsor. This podcast was brought to you by the Acropolis News Network. Link is in the description to join the premium, to join the site to view our premium content. The first premium episode should be available tomorrow, but you can see all of the standard content there as well. Or you can just check out their free content. They have other podcasts on there that are somewhat similar to what we do, but we're a little bit less formal than all that. And if you prefer to listen to the podcast rather than watch it, you can check us out on pretty much all major audio podcast streaming platforms, including but not limited to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, Podcast Addicts, iHeartRadio, and many, many more. Thank you again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if not, well, better luck next time.